Welcome back, fellow lords of gaming, to another episode of Marvel Future Revolution. We are continuing our path and digging deep into Doctor Strange's skill build, and this one we want to focus on the Illusion Magic class skill build. For this one, I've already prepared some of the skills inside the window here that we would like to use in my third tree. The Illusion Magic skill build is probably going to be one of the better ones that you could use, and I like to consider this one the most crowd controlling because this one literally lets you pop off skills the most, at least as far as stamina is required. So basically inside here we'd be using Master of the Mystics Arts, the Circular Shackles. The reason why I like to use this skill is because of one of the specializations that allows you to reduce your cooldown for every illusion magic class skill that you use. So you can reduce up to like 25% for just using the illusion magic class skill. And then we're using 7 Rings of Ragador, the Magic Explosion, which is another illusion magic class skill. 20-second cooldown and 26 required stamina costs. Pretty decent. Instead of using Gateway Summoning Launch, we're going to use Gateway Summoning Portal Bolt because this one does a fairly good amount of damage, and by comparison it's nearly half of a cooldown time and almost half of what the required stamina is in order to use Gateway Summoning Launch. So typically the way you're going to look at this is basically I'm getting off about 100% damage versus the 2000 damage from here. The reason why you say is because the cooldown time is in half and the stamina cost is literally in half. So I'm able to get this off twice as many times as I am Gateway Summoning. Now the problem with this skill is that they both have pretty long wind up times, but you can notice that Portal Bolt has a longer time to be cast. Like literally the skill is being cast out in front of him, and there's probably about a 1 second to 2 second time before the skill is actually pushed out and starts pushing back, as opposed to Gateway Summoning. Now the difference is that Gateway Summoning, the Gateway Launch, you were literally stuck in that goddamn animation the whole entire time, and there's no getting out of it at all. So like you're fucked in that one. Next up, we could go for Mirror Dimension inside here as well, in order to build these skills up. You know, Mirror Dimension is there. I just don't find these skills to be all that useful. They're a good way to cast off skills. Like you can see the 13.4 seconds on there, so it's relatively low stamina cost, but it's dealing very little damage while applying some guard break. It's just not one of those skills necessarily that I'm like, yeah, this is hitting my targets for max amounts of damage. We can also see Dimensional Lock, Invitation to the Abyss. It's dealing very low damage and it's supposed to apply a knockback to you, but whatever. And then we go Touch of Ashanti, and then lastly over here is a Mystic Arts class skill. Now Astral Projection is sat inside here as an illusion magic class, with the Summons Illusions of Icon and the this one, yeah, that one's Touch of Ashanti, the Summons Illusion of Icon, where it's like literally, you know, 40% of Doctor Strange's attack is being applied. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this skill. To be perfectly honest, it's just, yeah, I don't know what to say about that skill. I really don't know what to say about that skill. And then when we get over here to Book of Ashanti and Eldritch Swords, we're looking at those skills, and to be perfectly honest, there's not really an illusion magic class skill inside the bunch for the Book of Ashanti, and then Eldritch Sword as well. We're looking at this one, it's mostly Mystic Arts class skills and Touch of Ashanti. There's not a lot in terms of illusion magic. You could use Antimatter Sword, but again, I feel like this one's more a PvP oriented skill. While it does have a very low cooldown for 7.5 seconds at 15, it's one of those things that like decreasing HP recovery that as a skill boost on there. It is a status effect that would be applied, so you would benefit from Doctor Strange status effect accuracy, but this is one of those things where it does such low damage values that casting this skill overall to get that 7 seconds of decreased HP recovery, it doesn't really seem like it really hits that well. You could use this as a benefit, but what I'm basically looking at here is utilizing 3 skills so that way I can trigger off off Doctor Strange's specializations. So let's take a look at those real quick. You're going to have some specializations specializations that actually support this build very well. One of those, not that max damage rate, one of those is going to be time manipulation reverberation, which decreases the cooldown of illusion magic class skills by 25%. I think is the max value number inside here when you have 3 illusion magic class skills equipped. So that's really good to try to just find 3 magic class skills, and we get to use our basic 2 class skills that are overall percentage overall great, right? And one of the reasons why we're looking at that as being so good is because dark magic Will of Destroyer is applying you a 25% boost in terms of attack, but it is giving you a penalty for having that in terms of getting increased by your skill cooldown being increased. Having this skill equipped is basically going to modify that, so you're only taking you're not really taking that 15% anymore. You're getting 10% anyways in that regard, especially when you pair that skill up with time manipulation force field, where it's going to decrease the remaining cooldown of all skills by 25% when you use an illusion magic class skill. So basically, in effect, every time I use any one of those 3 illusion magic class skills, I am effectively reducing the cooldown on my skills by 25%. So that's a good ability inside there. Now pay attention that they do give you recommended classes, and you can start to kind of see, I kind of missed out on telling you guys about this when we were looking at the Touch of Ashanti class skill, the support. If you looked at the support one, you can see basically how they have the support built in here. It really doesn't make any fucking sense to me, to be honest. Like, yes, being a support role, I definitely want to have the, like, decreases duration of all debuffs received. I don't know why that applies to me in terms of support. The same thing for increasing immunity rate to confuse provoke. Yeah, that doesn't really, like, nobody is casting that towards me, so it's not really helping me in a support role. Decreasing damage received from nearby enemies and increasing max cooldown decrease. The only one that's really helping out in here is increasing the max cooldown decrease by a percentage. And here goes the problem with this skill though, is that this skill doesn't apply until you hit the max cap. So I have to be at 75% and max cooldown in order to make use of this skill. It would be good if that was the case, but since it doesn't, and we still run into the same problem where my cooldown will be greatly improved, but I still have to deal with managing the stamina on those things. So it's one of those things, right? So we have to look, but with crowd control, we can see how the illusion magic classes benefit inside here. We can see that increases guard damage of illusion magic class skills on would be beneficial, right? Because we are literally breaking down, the more we're using those skills, the higher the guard damage on those skills will be. That is a pretty decent skill to be using since you're going to be having uptime on those. We can see decreases cooldown of illusion magics upon equipping 3, because that's a 25% base layer overall stat boost for you as well. I don't really see the point in increasing the ultimate gauge recovery. They literally have nerfed the hell out of his ultimate skill. So like I said, I'll keep saying this to the ends of the earth. You have nerfed his ultimate so far down the chain that casting that skill is no more beneficial than me casting 4 of my other class skills inside here. So it's just not beneficial at all. But we can see how we need to make use out of these 2 skills, and even maybe the 3rd skill. Now, I'm not necessarily using the increased guard damage of the illusion magic class skills, mostly out of not wanting to to drop off some other ones. So for instance, like, you know, dark magic ether and having that max damage rate is really useful, and then looking at his increased mystic arts class skill damage is still going to be useful because we have a mix of those other 2. So you'd basically be fighting against some of the classes that some of the skills that you want to put in here, and I'm already going to have to get rid of 1 just to have that 1 skill included. And the one that I'm probably going to remove is we're going to have to remove the max damage rate. So let's equip that skill inside here, and let's go with, where are you at? There we go. So reverberation, we'll equip that skill and get rid of the max damage rate. Again, I don't know why they don't have multiple windows in here for us to like, you know, 1, 2, and 3 for the different builds that we could have. That would be a lot more beneficial to the gameplay overall. Nevertheless, why are we paying to equip active traits? We basically are using up convergium. There's no reason why we should be going through a system where we have to deal with the RNG of acquiring these specializations and then the failure of them, and then also again having to pay for equipping things that we've earned. So we're paying to unequip and equip things that it's just stupid. So like there's no point inside using these active traits where it becomes like I really want to spend the time switching around between these skills. So we'll jump inside Blitz so that way we can take a look at these skills and use and see how that plays out. Now, I will say that the illusion magic skill rotation is beneficial to you because now, whereas the Touch of Ashanti has probably the lowest stamina cost in terms of Doctor Strange's skills, we're probably looking at the illusion magic class as probably having the mid tier. So getting off some abilities inside here are beneficial because you're not going to necessarily worry too much about that stamina bar inside there. So let's take a look at those as they are triggering out, and I'll put up my damage stats so you can see where I am. So now it's kind of hard to use this as a guide because I've not really heard of either of these players necessarily. So understanding where they're at compared to having that elite ranked player inside this one is going to be a little bit different. But we can see at the very least that I'm above the other characters in terms of where I'm sitting, which is where I'm usually sitting. And I haven't even cast my Athena at all yet, so we'll see how that plays out, especially once we get to the end level boss. So remember the damage numbers in the support build for the Touch of Ashanti class, we were sitting at about 8,000 damage overall for the whole entire mission. Now I didn't cast Athena until later then, so I won't cast her till now or till then as well. So you can see the rotation for the characters fairly going pretty smoothly because these skills are low, and basically you see that as I'm casting a illusion magic class skill, the downtime on the other skills are basically being reduced. The bar turns yellowish red or whatever, red yellowish, and then it goes down from there. Let's skip through this. And so we'll go over here, but you notice the one thing is staying within inside that illusion magic class overall. So like there it goes, and then you can see that one's reduced and then that one's reduced. Let's actually execute some Touch of Ashanti class skills inside here, and now watch as you see the numbers when I cast those, they go down immediately. So this is the benefit of how you would want the class to play, by being able to say that I'm going to rotate. But you know, now that I'm rotating in some of these mystic arts classes and so forth, you can see that stamina gauge taking a while to rebuild, right? So like if I cast inside here and then we go and cast over here, we'll use our inside there, and then I'll cast my Tower of Mandalas as well, get those cooldowns going low. Even on a portal boat, I'm rotating through skills and I'm managing the stamina in terms of looking at what I'm doing. There is some manual play regarded here. We can see a third of the way through the battle, I'm actually sitting at this place where I was for the basically sitting where I was for the in battle state of where I was with the Touch of Ashanti build. So I'm going to cast those both off and then immediately roll into dropping down, trying to get these illusion magic classes off. I don't have these available because of stamina requirements, and I'm still playing here. We'll get this up. So now I'm down on skills because of stamina requirements, not my cooldown times. These skills are ready to be used, but I can't cast them because of stamina requirements. So I'm waiting for my stamina to be up so that way I can cast these skills. So you can see how essentially it's working somewhat in favor, right? Where it's, as long as I'm using the illusion magics, then I'm good. Now we were literally at 11,000, so probably about 3,000 more than where we sat with the Touch of Ashanti class skill. And so you can see basically how that's working, right? Is that the limitation on that and me being able to rotate between those skills is limited not by my cooldowns, because the cooldowns get all of those skills within windows where they're able to be cast, and I can get into that rotation of doing those skills, which would help me keep up with other players if I wasn't dealing with the stamina rotation on those. So in all fairness and truth, I want to show you guys my stats so that way you have a full account of where I'm sitting. I'm at roughly 150% stamina recovery. I'm at roughly about 50% cooldown innately. So like let me pull this up and let's go inside my hero, and then we'll select on the character skill, because I realized I didn't show this in the last one. Like I said, I'm roughly at about 75% stamina recovery in terms of being maxed out. Stamina recovery, I believe, maxes out at 200%. Yeah, so it's 200%. I'm at 150%, so I'm 75% of the way there. You can look at my cooldown as well inside here. Where are we at? There we are. So my cooldown time on here innately, without using the illusion magic class skill route, is sitting at 41.8%. I could probably bring that one higher if I wasn't inside of my specialization, because my specialization, you can see where I'm getting a negative 12% in terms of my cooldown decrease time, because I have that one specialization skill equipped, where it's basically increasing the the attack, but it's increasing my cooldown by 15% inside there. So basically I'm working against that 12% inside there to get those skills, and then you can see where I'm getting my cooldown timers from other skills across the board in terms of leveling out those skills. You know, not a lot from other places outside of Omega cards and cooldowns. Now, I've thought about re-rolling my Omega cards. I have about 3 of them that I would like to just re-roll completely to cooldown decrease, but the difficulty in terms of me wanting to do that is literally hindered upon the fact that I understand the way the mechanic is working already against stamina, meaning that unless I increase my stamina recovery, and that last 50% of stamina recovery is going to matter that much where I can rotate between skills, having my cooldown max doesn't really help out, you know, me being able to cast the skills. Now, it might help in terms of me not needing to equip certain specializations where I'm trying to get that cooldown decrease from, but it's not helping out in general in terms of that. So it's a weird paradigm. I need to unlock some more cards. I'm really trying to get the Spider-Man and Black Widow cards from there, because I feel like that would help boost my attack overall in general anyways. So we'll see how that happens once we get there. But like I've said, all characters at some point in terms of what you pay to play into them, so that way you can build them, is going to end up being great, right? You know, it's going to end up being like every character can be amazing if you are willing to pay to make that character amazing. But where we are when we talk about everyday players and your normal players, this is what we're looking down the pipe at, is that with that, this is what I'm being limited by, is that stamina recovery. And so we have to look at those, because I'm not benefiting from a lot of other skills that could be maxed with, like dodge rate, critical rate, and you know, my crit damage is pretty damn good right now. Most people are a little bit sat above 140, somewhere between 150 and 200%. And my crit rate and my dodge rate aren't necessarily bad inside this game, nor is my accuracy rate. But I've taken time to try to, you know, get cards re-rolled and stuff, so forth, to make those up there. But you can see like my stat, like defense pierce, is relatively low. So like even if I was to utilize the Touch of Ashanti soul enhanced skill, I'm basically getting half, a little bit of 3/4 of the way to the max in terms of having those skills up. We'll play around with some of the builds once we finish going through all of the builds, so that way you guys can see the utilization of them and where you look at, and that way we can determine, like, are these class skills worth equipping and how viable they are. So we can see I've basically got a 3% boost. How this performs inside of Invasion is going to be the question. I do plan on giving you guys these. I did them in Blitz. I do plan on giving to you these same things in Raid and Invasion, so don't worry, those are coming up. Until next time, guys, peace.